Alright, see some people asking about making time lapses in Factorio. I'm just going to show you a quick way to do it without too much screwing around. It's not going to be an in-depth tutorial, but we'll see how we go. Alright. What you do first is you're going to have to make sure that your save has replay enable. If you don't know what that is, when you first create a Factorio game, you have to tick the enable replay for this game. For some reason, even if you tick it, next time you create a game, it's unticked. It's really handy. So if you haven't ticked this when you first created your map, then unfortunately this tutorial is not for you, so please abandon it. If you can play a replay of your map, then you can use this process in order to create a time lapse for it. So for example, here is a game. It's got 2 hours of gameplay in it. This is an unmodified save, so I'm going to hop straight in, and you can see this is the replay. I went replay on the menu earlier, obviously. You know, I can skip through and it'll follow my character and perform all of the actions. So the trick is we want to convert this into a time-lapse video. What we need to do is an easy way of working out your initial settings, I find, is to load into the game, not as a time-lapse, but as in just the normal mode, such as this. Here we go. Here's the map at the final point. Now, I'll link all of these scripts. You can take them, but basically, I have my list of time-lapse scripts that I use here. There's basically 2 commands for the video renderer, and 1 command which I can use at an initial point to kind of take some test screenshots to work out how big you want the screenshot and how zoomed in you want it. And once you've got that, you can apply that to the replay. So it will basically take the screenshots automatically throughout the replay. So first, I'm going to take this section of the script, which is basically the command to take the screenshot, and I'm going to run this as a command within within my live game, so I can see what a screenshot would look like. You know what, I'm going to modify all of this, and I'm just going to make it test. There we go. So it's going to take a screenshot, and it's going to be called test. So I'm going to copy this command. We're going to go back to Factorio. Obviously, I'm not 100% sure on commands and achievements, so you might want to make a copy of your save before you run commands in Factorio, because it may disable achievements within Steam or within Factorio itself, which is unfortunate, seeing as the command is just to take a screenshot. Alright, let's give it a go. Yep. Running a command will disable the achievements. Run it again. Alright. Does that mean it worked? Hopefully. Alright, so basically, if you have a look at that command, it goes to a folder called Timelapse. Now by default, if you run a command in, what's it called, in Factorio, the outputs of a command end up in a script output folder within the, what's it called, within your app data on your user. So probably just want to go to this directory and change the word administrator to whatever user you happen to be, and you'll find most of these folders. It'll automatically create the time-lapse script, it'll automatically create the script output when you've run this command. As a cheat to get here quickly, if you type in %appdata% and hit enter, it'll take you straight to this point. You can just go and find Factorio, and look, here we are. Easy way to go. So let's go into the script output. Now you can ignore some of these things that are already in there. Basically, this time-lapse folder will be the thing that's created, and you can see there is my test screenshot. So if we have a look at this, it's like, yeah, it doesn't look like too bad a screenshot to me. I can show you some of the values that are in here and what they actually mean. So you'll notice on the screenshot that it's quite pixelated. That being said, that is due to this zoom feature. So basically, it renders the image quality down. So like, you know, 4 pixels actually equal a single pixel when you're zoomed at 25%. So it means, you know, yeah, that's the easiest way to describe it. So if you take 1000 by 1000 pixel screenshot, it will actually cover a larger area than if you had this zoom at level 1. I can show you an example, but feel free to experiment around with it yourself. One of the reasons why you would use this zoom and not just increase the resolution, because you know, obviously if I increase this to 2000, you know, it's going to take a screenshot that's twice as big, so it's going to be a bigger file. It's going to cover twice as much of the base, but of course it's going to increase the file size, and it's going to increase the rendering time and everything along those lines. If you have a look, this file is already 1000 by 1000 pixels, and it's 144 megabyte. So let's say you wanted to take a screenshot, you know, every you wanted to take a screenshot every minute, and it goes for 2 hours. You know, that's like 1.44 times 60, you know, times 2. Yeah, that's 172 megabytes. So no, that's not very much. You know, like that's 2 hours of content for 172 megabytes. This is obviously a very small screenshot. It doesn't even cover half of my base, and this is already zoomed out to 25% resolution. So take this into consideration based on the size of your base, the size of your screenshot, and the length of your replay. It's quite easy to fill your hard drive up completely, and you're not really going to want that if you're like doing a time lapse of a super long game and you just like fill up your hard drive around the 90% mark. So, you know, do the due diligence, do the math, think it out, try and get exactly what you want. So, for example, this doesn't cover my whole base. I want probably a bit bigger screenshot than this. I'll probably make it a little bit taller and probably maybe like 3 times wider. So let's go back to my command and give that a go. So I think the first value is vertical height, and then we'll make it like 3000. How does that look? That sounds pretty good. You know what, we'll call this one test 2. Copy, put it in here. So let's see, paste. Oh, see it like froze up for a second because it's taken such a big screenshot. It's gonna be a killer. You know what, I don't even know if I have enough space on my hard drive for this. I haven't cleaned up in a while. Time lapse. Okay, here we go. So you can see this is a massive screenshot, and unfortunately I got those values around the wrong way. So this is a great tutorial. Good start, good start. So yeah, we want this one to be 3000 and that one to be 1500. Obviously this takes a screenshot based on the center position of the initial spawn. If you haven't built your base directly at the initial spawn, you'll probably want to move these values into either plus or minus in order to have the center point of your screenshot be at different positions on the map. So yeah, it sounds a bit complicated, but hopefully you built where you spawn. If not, you're just going to have to modify these values until you get in the middle of your screenshot exactly where you want it, because it's a bastard like that. Alright, let's give it a go. So we're going to try this again, hopefully with those values around the right way. You can see it freeze up for a second. Ooh, you know what? I saved it with the same file name, so it's called test2 again. Okay, well this is obviously good, except it's kind of needless for it to be this wide, considering the center of my base is kind of like over here, isn't it? I could probably just move the position along, maybe 1500 pixels, and then squish it down horizontally a little bit. So maybe go like 2000 horizontal, and then we will move this guy maybe 1000 pixels along. Obviously, if you wanted to move it the other way, you would get minus 1000. Alright, let's give this a go. Like I said, this figuring out period is like a bit of a bugger, but it's worth it. It's worth it for the results. Alright, let's see how the screenshot looks. You know what, I think I may have moved it way too far along. What in the hell is this? I've screwed this up completely. Oh yeah, it probably moves more than 1 pixel at a time because this is zoomed out. Maybe, I don't know. Let's try 50. Don't judge me. Alright. Poor example of a tutorial. Okay, here we go. Hey, that looks alright. You know what? That's good enough. I'm happy with that. You know, it could be a little bit more centered. Could modify the numbers a little bit, but I don't really care. Now, some things you would obviously notice is this is a screenshot at night. We're going to get that sorted. That's cool. And this is 3.5 meg. Like I said, once we're going to end up with some pretty big files by the end of this. So anyway, I'm happy with this screenshot. So I've gotten my configuration here that I like. Basically, just these values. You know, obviously, if you want to modify the zoom, you know, you get all of that set up just the way you like it. So, the moment of truth, the trick is basically you've done all that testing within your game itself. You exit out, and this is where you must make a copy here. So you go back to your Factorio folder, you go to the saves, you find the save you were just working on. Not that one. You can see this is my original. You know, I'll delete this copy, and you make a copy of it. Basically, you're going to modify the save to tell it to take a screenshot. So if you intend on continue to play the game, I highly recommend you make a copy. So I'm just going to copy this. There we go. So we've got this copy here. Now if I go back into Factorio, we go play, replays, you can see there's the copy. I can load in, it's going to run the replay. Excellent. Next step is open up the zip file that is the save game with your chosen zip software. I use WinRAR. As you can see, it was unregistered. Then you want to go and modify this control.lua file. Now, basically there's a bunch of junk in here that controls the game and how it works. You could like probably look into that if you want, but probably just skip over it. What you want to do is insert your own additional script, which is what we've got here, over the onto the end of this, so it will run it itself. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these two values, and I'm going to get the script back as it was before, because you know what, I can't do that. I'm just going to reopen it. Sorry, but I will send you maybe the initial script format for pasting and testing in the game, as well as this finalized script format. But obviously you need to put the values into the script yourself based on the dimensions of your factory and what kind of screenshot you want. So I'm going to open this back up, and hey, look at that. Looks like I've saved over it. It was a great job. I've done a great job there. Best tutorial. Let's just have a look at the recording from the start of this tutorial. That's a really weird way of doing it, but you can use. We'll enter this meta. There it is. All right, so we've retyped in the this string format in here. Obviously, if I supply you with two, one for the initial setup and one for this script, you would just have to modify this zoom, resolution, and position to match the testing screenshots that you've done previously. So from there, basically you want to copy this entire subsection here. Now I'll explain it. Basically every 3,600 ticks. Now obviously this is a number you can modify as well. In Factorio, a tick is a 60th of a second. So 1,600, what? 3,600 ticks equals 1 minute, 60 seconds. So every 60 seconds, it's going to take a screenshot. Be aware that this is based on the ticks in the game and not actual time passing. So it means even if your computer is lagging and the replay is running slower, or whether it's playing in fast forward, it's still going to take a screenshot as if it was every 60 seconds of in-game time. Very handy. I put in this command that makes it always day. That way your screenshots don't strobe on and off as nighttime and daytime changes in the game. You know what, I haven't tested if this affects solar panels. If you have solar panels in your base, just be aware that maybe some weird stuff will happen in the replay. I don't know, might want to check that. Anyway, so it's this section that we have to copy. Now, if you remember earlier, we had we'd opened up best tutorial ever. Okay, so we open up the file. It's gone. Where the freaking file's gone? Let's make a copy of this one. Control C, Control V. Don't know how it got missing, but apparently it did. We're going to open it up in WinRAR. It's Vanilla Solo 2018. Yeah, that was the other one. So we go into the control.lua and we paste in our modified script with our configuration that we want into the control.lua here. Like I said, 60 seconds, always daytime, this position, that resolution, that zoom. Basically, this bit here also means that it's going to go, it's going to name the files in 6 number characters going up. I forget what this means. I think it's just a value of the ticks in the game. So I believe, I don't know, you can try and work that shit out if you want to. Works for me. Use that one. Maybe increase this if it's going to be a really, really long replay. Anyway, so we save this. When we close it, you can see my WinRAR has detected that I've modified this file. So do you want to update it inside the archive? I go yes. There we go. So I've updated the control.lua within this replay. Now what will happen is if I load up the replay inside of Factorio, did I hit replay? Load replay. It's going to start firing off a screenshot every 60 seconds. So let's see how that's working. Let's go load. There we go. And it doesn't matter if it's following the character. I've also, in this command, basically set it based on a position, not on the character. So it doesn't really matter what's going on here. Let's get rid of the show GUI and go check the folder and see if some screenshots are coming in there. So we got Factorio, output script, Timelapse. There we go. So there's my first 2 tests. We don't need those anymore. Delete. And here is the first screenshot that we have. There we are. You can see there's not really a lot going on. I don't know where I am. Maybe I managed to get a screenshot before I even entered the world. It's pretty handy. Alright, so let's give this a little go. Let's fast forward this a little bit, make sure it's all on track. Has it been 60 seconds yet? There it has. See, another screenshot's come in. Unfortunately, the text is appearing. Oh, it's strange that my character isn't. Fair enough. Anyway, unfortunately you can't bring this faster than 64 times, but let's just let it go. Bring it right up to 64 times. You can see each time it takes the screenshot, it freezes up for a second, but you can quite happily just leave this going in the background and take a whole ton of high resolution screenshots of your base across a huge amount of time. Obviously 64 times speed means that this 2 hours will probably take I don't know, probably like 2.5 minutes. So while that's going, I'll show you how to do the rest. Basically, if we go into this time-lapse folder, we can see it's filling up now. Lots of screenshots going in here. Already 200 megabytes. So the next point is basically we want to encode these screenshots into a video file. Now, in order to do that, I'm using this open source encoder called FFMPEG. Actually, I don't even know if it's open source. It's just a free encoder. If we type in FFMPEG, like so, you'll find it, download it, get the Windows version, unless you're not using Windows, and yeah. So this is the software. So I've moved it inside of my time-lapse scripts folder. Basically, oh look, there's my previous time-lapse. I'm gonna delete all of these screenshots that are from my previous time lapse, and you'll see that inside the bin of this software is where the FFMPEG executable is. So basically, in order to make this more straightforward, I find that if you move the screenshots in here, it makes life a lot easier. So if I go to script output, should be done taking its screenshots. 91, that doesn't really seem like enough. Probably closed it halfway through going because I got distracted. Anyway, half a time lapse is fine with me. We're basically going to take these, I'm going to cut them instead of copying them so I don't end up with twice the files on my computer, and I'm going to move it into this binary folder along with this executable. Alright, the next step there is I want to get these and combine them into an MP4. Now, oh, it looks like I got the commands here as well. Now, when you do this, which one of these commands do I like to use? There's lots of modifications you can do on these commands. Probably want to read the documentation on the software itself, but I believe this is rate, so it's like how fast the screenshots are displayed. So you know, you could have a low FPS video, you know, more like a slideshow. You're gonna have a high FPS video, basically changing the rate at which the screenshots are displayed doesn't really increase the size of the file because it's just, you know, it's got less frames per second. It's got the same amount of frames, the same amount of encoding, doesn't really matter. The resolution, you probably want to match the resolution of your images. So on this one, it's 2000 by 1500. So 2000 by 1500. Here we are. So this is essentially just the command here. It's going to use this encoder, which is the libx264. I don't know if this is best for YouTube. Creates pretty nice small little MP4s, which I like. You can actually use these encoders to create JPEGs. JPEGs, GIFs, animated GIFs. Yeah, let's give it a go. So if I go up here and I type in CMD, it will instantly open a Windows command prompt directly to this folder. Very convenient. If I paste in my command that I will supply to you with these resolutions, it will take all of these files and render them into an MP4, unless the command is wrong. File name or blah blah blah. Probably don't need these quotation marks. Let's try it without them. There we go. Seems happy. There we are. It's encoding. So basically, yeah, you can tweak those settings, get different output formats, get different like play rates, all sorts of things. So let's see how it turned out. There we go. You can see nice little time lapse going on here. Congratulations! You could upload this to YouTube or share it with your friends. Now, if you notice, this freaking all of these screenshots equal to 570 megabytes. What a hell of a lot of space taken up. This MP4, which seems quite reasonable quality to me, can't really zoom in for you, you know, equals as little as 2 megabytes, 2.75. Very happy. You can share this through Discord. So thank you for watching the tutorial. I will share these commands with you. If you have any questions, probably don't ask me. Probably leave me alone. Talk amongst yourselves. But yeah, I find this to be the most straightforward solution to creating a Factorio time-lapse. Someone feel free to combine all of these instructions into a single script for all the kids out there. But remember, don't run scripts you can't trust, you know. Always look at the source if at all possible, and stay safe out there.